Hello, I'm Robin Gibson, and this is the Harvard House Money Morsel. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us again. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the bell so you get a notification of when we're releasing a new video. I'm sitting today with Michael Porter. Hello, Michael.
Yeah, morning, Robin.
So, Michael, we've just been around the country sort of visiting Cape Town and Joburg for Insight, and we've got Howick Insight coming up this week. But the one thing that kind of sits in our heads is that there's a lot of global instability at the moment, isn't there? I mean, Trump throwing his toys, and I think there's a lot of dissatisfaction in the UK over their budget, and just the world's not a happy place, is it?
Yeah, quite right, Robin. We haven't actually had a family meeting, and this is being filmed on the Monday morning. We had a family meeting from Cyril last night, which we haven't had probably since COVID.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, the need to sort of put out a message and sort of clarify SA's role. If you just look around the world, I mean, we've still got ongoing, obviously, challenges in Ukraine, and whether there's going to be a peace deal or not is sure, it's highly debatable. For all the peace in the Middle East, I mean, there's still essentially attacks going on every day, which is, I think, far from the press. But I think if you read it a little bit deeper, it's going on. You do have to love the UK press. Many people will know that the UK Chancellor of the Exchequer is Rachel Reeves. Her nickname in the UK press is the Queen of Thieves. And given the UK budget last week and pushing the can down the road and tax increases, we're quite familiar now with the concept, Robin, here of sort of bracket creep. And last year, SARS didn't adjust the brackets for inflation, or Treasury didn't, to try and earn more tax. In the UK, they're not going to adjust the brackets for inflation until 2031.
Yeah.
So you've got 6 years of essentially bracket creep going on in the UK, which is pretty. That must be pretty disheartening as a worker. And in the UK, the Office for Budget Responsibility, which sort of oversees the budget, is really talking about this massive loss of productivity in the UK market, which is affecting some of the numbers. So, and yes, then if you look at the US. Donald Trump is proposing a chap called Kevin Hassett as the next chairman of the Federal Reserve. I think he is he's a Trump believer, and there's this ongoing concern about what that means for monetary policy and whether the biggest central bank in the world is actually going to be independent and manage inflation expectations properly. You've got Trump threatening to invade Venezuela. Well, I suppose it's just it's just a crazy world out there. And so we talk a little bit about gold prices, Robin. We were talking earlier this morning about Bitcoin, and the price of gold is actually not quite at record highs again, but it's
$4,200.
$4,200, yeah. The price of Bitcoin probably peaked at 120,000 a coin, and it's now 85 or 84,000 a coin. So why aren't if Bitcoin is digital gold, why aren't those two tracking each other? And I think. We were joking this morning. Warren Buffett always used to say, if I don't understand something, I don't invest in it. And I think that's a very wise maxim, and there's other forces at play that's going on, So, the world's just in a crazy place, Robin. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And Michael, I mean, obviously we're sitting here, we celebrated a fantastic win against Wales. We put 70 points over them. And I think
the only disappointment, Robin, was we didn't get 80 points for 80 minutes.
Yeah, well, maybe that. I think maybe the disappointment was that it feels a little bit like our politics. Just when South Africa does really well, it feels like somebody puts a thumb in somebody's eye and spoils the whole thing, doesn't it? But I mean, we do, bringing it back local, as much as the world is in a lot of turmoil. I mean, the rand trading 17.11 to the dollar. Things are looking a little bit more optimistic locally, aren't they?
Definitely. I mean, we've been talking for quite a long time, and just at the margin, things are just starting to gather a little bit of momentum. Last week we had private credit data. So this is the sort of private sector credit extension. The annual rate of growth was 7.8%, I think. That was the highest rate of growth in about really since the early 2023, so coming up for 3 years now. Corporate credit growth, which we've talked about before, was strong, but we're also seeing an improvement in household credit growth. So we've been talking, Robin, car sales are at highs. I mean, it's too early to make a comment on Black Friday. We'll see how, I suppose there'll be some comments from retailers and things coming out in due course. But there's definitely a little pickup. If you look at some of the company results, I mean, KAL Group, which was the former Carp Agri, they were just commenting the farmers are busy. I mean, even your own experience driving back from Cape Town this past weekend, Robin.
Yeah.
There's water everywhere, and not a
It
drop
was
to drink.
unbelievable. Even in the Free State, I didn't expect to see that much water in the Free State, Michael.
Yeah. So we almost run the risk of having too much water, I think, and crops getting a little bit waterlogged. But the farming community is actually really strong. The mining community is pretty strong. Platinum prices are up again as well. And having had years where platinum prices have been in the doldrums, when you get a sustained move in prices, it does, the money flows down pretty quickly because the volume doesn't react, so prices are sustained. But we haven't been building new platinum mines for years, Robin, either. So, the platinum prices are not at the right price yet to incentivize a lot of new development. It's just not economic. And so, I suppose with the green lobby changing a little bit, combustion engines coming a little bit back into the fore. It's really interesting what happened in the UK budget last week as well.
Yes,
you'll know that I'm probably, governments all tax fuel, and it's quite a nice source of tax.
Yeah.
Obviously, with the move to electric vehicles, that tax was evaporating. Funny, they didn't think about that.
Yeah.
And anyway, the UK last week put a tax on electric vehicles, mileage,
Yeah.
a tax per mile, per kilometre driven.
Yes.
So how they're actually going to monitor that effectively remains to be seen, and we'll see the details. But it's just interesting that governments are now starting to realise that they're actually losing out, and I think there's a lot of dialing back. So I think platinum, the outlook for platinum. The platinum group metals is actually quite exciting. So I think when you take it all together, Robin, I mean, we are far from perfect in this country. We all know that. But if you take it where we were in June or July, or maybe even at the start of the year, and where you look at now, one or two things are just starting to fall into place. And yes, we're still only growing at 1%. We might grow at 1.2% this year, but next year we're looking at 1.5% or so. At least we're moving in the right direction, and I think the country feels like we're moving in the right direction at long last. As opposed to this continual slide that we've been on. Where it never seems to be any hope here.
Yeah. And talking about tax, Michael, I mean, we obviously had the budget debacle at the beginning of the year. Edward Kieswetter said, give me the 8 billion, I'll collect the extra money. He's certainly indicated or shown that he is doing that. And we've highlighted this whole thing around gambling being a concern. They're not being slow on that. It looks like we might have something in the budget next year to address gambling and bringing a gambling tax.
Yeah, Robin. I mean, I think, we've got some taxes. So there is gambling tax if you go to a casino or slot machines. But I don't think that the tax legislation has evolved to include the online gaming and the other gambling that are now available. So yes, I think it's long overdue, and I think sin taxes should be gambled and should be taxed. And if we can raise an extra 10 billion from that, that'll take the pressure off elsewhere, and it might mean that SARS doesn't have to push through, or Treasury doesn't have to push through with no tax bracket increases next year for us either. We can have some moderate tax relief coming through if we get tax from other sources. I think the concern is that some of these offshore gambling platforms are not going to fall into that net. So there's a concern that you're going to push gambling underground. But I think then that's for the authorities to clamp, to tighten up and to regulate properly. I don't think the principle's a bad idea. We tax cigarettes, we tax alcohol. Sin taxes are sin industries are taxed. And I don't think gambling's any different.
Awesome. Well, Michael, we're coming to the end of a busy year. I don't know whether the world takes a pause. We will certainly be pausing.
The world never pauses, Robin.
Sure.
And financial markets never pause either, unfortunately.
No, exactly. But thank you for giving us your insights. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.